Hi, this is Thomas William Gardner, and this message is called Red Flags and the Good Marriage. May God bless you. I wanted to share a story about love and what a good marriage I believe is. This is just my opinions. The Greeks say that there are 7 kinds of love. Each one is very powerful. I've seen where people went to war over love in different ways. Today I want to tell you about the red flags of a relationship. The reason I want to do this is because 58% of all marriages end in divorce. And I think that sometimes if we just would take time and sit down and talk to somebody that's been through it a few times in life for a while, and maybe, just maybe, we could save people a lot of heartache. This is just my opinion. Each young man or young woman should look for red flags. If you're thinking about getting married or you are interested in someone and you say to yourself, well, they look good, they sound good, they smell good, they taste good, well, really you ought to look a little deeper. Look for the red flags. If you're with somebody and they just killed an animal on the road and they laugh about it, they think it's really funny, whether it's a dog, a cat, or a deer, or whatever it is, if they laugh about it, that's a red flag. You should pay attention to that. If they talk to your mother or father and when they leave they make fun of them, that's a red flag. If the man grabs your arm and he hurts you because he grabbed your arm too tightly, that's a red flag. And if he puts his hands on you and he hits you, and then he apologizes and he gives you flowers, that's a major red flag. And if you say to other people, well, I know he's a little rough around the edges, but I can change him. I can help him. That's not true. You can't. Only Jesus can. Only the forgiveness of the cross can save him. Because you can't change people. That's something that only God can do. If you're a young man and you're with somebody and they're not proud to be with you, leave her. Don't waste your time. And if you're just eye candy for other people to look at, but she doesn't seem to really care that much about you, get rid of her. Go away. Walk away while you can. If she's cruel and she doesn't really seem to care about your feelings and she hurts your feelings too often, it's time to leave. It's time to walk away. And if only money satisfies her, then truly, she's not the right one. If she does not stick up for you, in 10 years, what will she do? What will she say about you if she doesn't stick up for you right now? These are all red flags to pay attention to. You see, we all go on looks or attitude or we think somebody's funny or we think they have money or whatever it is. But it's a relationship, and the relationships should last decades and decades. And it's worth it when you find the right one. Whether you find the right one when you're 14 years old or you find the right one when you're 114 years old, you see it's worth it. And it's worth it for me to mention this because I see this thing happen over and over again. And how the women say he wasn't the guy that I thought he was. He wasn't the man that I thought he was. I was so disappointed. And after we were married, he turned into a different person. Or he'll say, well, when we got married, she thought I would pay for all the bills. And it wasn't 50-50. I couldn't believe it. Well, see, that's a misconception too, because it's never 50-50. It's 100%. If you're willing to put 100% into it and look out for her, protect her, be there for her, then it's got a chance. But she has to feel the same way. And that 100% this way, and then later the other person, maybe they come over and then they go, I got to look out for him because he's always there for me. And you've earned it. You see, in love, you got to earn love. It's great to be in love, but You have to make the effort. You have to make the ultimate effort to be there for them and to look out for them and to care for them. When you turn to Corinthians chapter 13, it explains this. It says that love is long suffering. It says that it does not envy. It says that love does not get vaulted. It said that love does not get puffed up. It says that love does not act unseemly. It says that love does not get provoked. It says that it thinks no evil. Love does not think evil. It says that it rejoices not in iniquity, but it rejoices in the truth. It beareth all things. It believeth all things. It hopes for all things. It endures all things. It says that love never fails. But if there are prophecies, they shall eventually fail. And if there are tongues, they shall eventually cease. And if there is great knowledge, it'll eventually vanish away. Now, abideth faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of all these things is love. Is love. What is love? Well, it's not just emotion. It's more than emotion. And you should look for the red flags to protect yourself. But let's talk about what a good marriage is. If there's 58% fail, what is a good marriage? There's good marriages, there's great marriages, there's fantastic marriages, and there's marriages that, well, you'll say that marriage was just made in heaven. So what is a good marriage? My grandmother and grandfather had a good marriage. And I always get a kick out of my grandfather because he was a bit of a jokester, a practical joker, a funny guy. People liked to be around him. People would gravitate towards him. And my grandmother was real proper. And my grandmother, when she was young, she had real long legs, and she was slim, and she had bright red hair, and it was bouncy and red. And everybody said she was quite striking. You just noticed her wherever you were. You just noticed how pretty she was. And my grandfather had cold black hair, and he was tan and kind of full of himself. Well, in 1923, my grandmother saw my grandfather, and he was talking to a bunch of girls, and all the girls were laughing. And every time she saw him, she said he had all the girls laughing. So every time he would say something to her, well, she wouldn't give him the time of day. She just walked past him, which made her even more attractive to my grandfather. Finally, one day they were walking down the street, and everybody was laughing because my grandfather was beside my grandmother, but my grandmother didn't know it, and he was walking on his hands. And she turned and looked at him, and she said, "What are you doing?" And he says, "I'm trying to get your attention." She said, "Will you stop it?" And everybody was laughing because he'd stay right there beside her when she was looking at the shop windows. He says, I will if you'll go out with me." What? She says, "What do you want?" He says, I just want to go out with you. Just once. Just once. And then I'll leave you alone after that if you'll just go out with me, if you want me to leave you alone. And she said, "Okay, sure. Will you really leave me alone?" He said, "Yes." She says, "Okay, I'll go out with you." So she waited at the farm, and here came this great big dust ball coming. And it was just terribly loud. And it was my grandfather, and he was in a convertible. And it had cutouts on the convertible, which is like cherry bomb mufflers, very loud. And it caused a whole bunch of dust as he was coming down the lane, and then he stopped, and dust passed over, and he had World War I leather helmet on, and he had goggles on, and he had a long scarf, and he had a big laugh, and he said, "Lucy, I'm here. And you ready to go?" And she just cringed. She was so embarrassed, but she made a deal. They went uptown, and he went down the place where it was the rich road where all the rich people lived. And he started up his cherry bomb mufflers, and there were horses there, and the horses reared up, and he blew dust on the people, and he laughed. And she tried to hide down in the car so nobody would see her, but it was a convertible. And finally, at the end of the day, he had my grandmother laughing. As time went on, they went out on some more dates. And one day he says to her, he says, well, Lucy, he says, I'll tell you what. He says, I'm going to toss a coin. And if the coin comes up heads, we'll go to Cedar Point. If it comes up tails, we'll take the train to the other side and we'll go over and we'll get married in Clyde. And she just shook her head. She says, okay. So he tossed the coin and it came up tails. And she says, I suppose we're going to get married now? He said, sure. He said, let's get on the train. And she says, well, you don't have a wedding ring or anything. You haven't engaged me or anything. And he went over to a man that was smoking a long cigar. And he said, sir, can I have the ring off of that cigar? And the man looked at him kind of funny. And he said, sure. So he takes the ring and he goes over and he puts it on her finger and says, we're getting married. And they got married. And you know what? They never separated. They never got a divorce. And it was truly a love story. Was it perfect? No. Was it a great love story? No. They had ups and they had downs, but they had commitment. And he would do anything for her. And she would do anything for him. They had a lot of fun, and they made along for 43 years until he passed away. And my grandfather had 5 events that took place in his life that you'd say it was a miracle. And the next time we talk, we'll talk about miracles.